Welcome to Meet Houston Missions and the Simmons and Fletcher Local Missions Podcast. I'm your host, Paul Cannon, managing partner at Simmons and Fletcher PC. The podcast is about giving people an opportunity to learn where they can get involved and how they can get involved with missions and organizations that provide opportunities for volunteers right here in the Houston area. We have a special guest today from Kailee Mills Foundation. She's going to tell us a little bit about what that organization does and how you can get involved with them. Briana McCulloch, you're the executive director, I understand. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Welcome to the show, and tell us a little bit about what the Kailee Mills Foundation does.
Of course. Well, first, thank you for having me. It really means a lot for us to share our organization and to share Kailee and her story with the Houston area and beyond. I am the executive director, but more importantly, I am Kailee's aunt. So this foundation and this cause is extremely important to me. So the Kailee Mills Foundation was founded in 2017 after Kailee lost her life in a crash at only 16 years old. She was riding in the back seat with three other friends on their way to a Halloween party. They were going a mile away or less, and they were right outside of her neighborhood. She was actually 500 yards from her home. And the driver just took a curve too fast. And Kailee, they were actually all four wearing their seatbelts. Kailee removed her seatbelt for a moment to slide over and take a selfie photo with her friend in the back seat. And that just happened to be the moment that the driver took the curve too fast, ran off the road, hit a culvert, the car flipped. And because she was not wearing her seatbelt, she was ejected and was killed on impact from the blow of hitting the window on the way out. Her three friends all walked away with little to no injuries at all. Their injuries really just consisted of some cuts from getting out of the vehicle. So we knew in that moment that Kailee would still be here with us today had she kept her seatbelt on.
Wow.
And from that accident, Kailee's father really was searching for some kind of answers, as I think any father or mother would after they lost their child. So he started researching this crash and wanted to know, is this a freak accident? Does this happen often? What are the statistics? And he was just up all night researching this and discovered it's actually a much bigger problem than people realize. Everybody thinks everybody wears their seatbelt, and that's just not the case. So he thought, well, is there something we can do to help in her memory? And a few days after the crash, he was driving by her cross site, which is right outside of their neighborhood entrance. And there was a couple hundred kids who were just surrounded by her cross. And he thought, well, I should really stop and talk to them. And so he stopped, and he actually took the opportunity to share with them how important it is to always wear your seatbelt. And the kids were very receptive to it. And that was the moment he said, I think we can really make a difference here and save lives and talk to kids about this. So that's really where it all started. The Kailee Mills Foundation was really formed within about 3 weeks from the date of her death. And it started with the intent to just talk to kids. We created the seatbelt awareness ribbon. We thought, well, there's an awareness ribbon for everything. There's bound to be one for seatbelts, and there wasn't. So we developed a ribbon that looks like a seatbelt. And the color we chose because it was Kailee's favorite color. And that's why we chose the mint green. And it also is very unique from all other awareness ribbons. So we started spreading those throughout the community and talking to kids, and it really just exploded from there. We were making a meaningful difference. And the Clicket or Ticket campaign with TxDOT learned about what we were doing and asked if we would be the spokesperson for Clicket or Ticket the May after Kailee's death. And so we came in and became the spokesperson for the campaign. And it was the most successful Clicket or Ticket campaign they'd ever had in their 17 years of existence. We reached over 400 million people that year in over 43 countries. And they asked us to come back and be the spokesperson again in 2019. And since then, we've actually been a spokesperson for the National Clicket or Ticket campaign in Washington, D.C.
Oh, wow. How awesome. Well, that organization really ballooned into something really, really big in such a short time, it seems like. And it's such a it's such a powerful story of how it began and why it began, and just one moment of unhooking the seatbelt to slide over turned into such a tragic event. You just don't think that the few seconds it's going to take to do something like that, this kind of tragedy could happen, but it does. And her story is not alone out there. But it's so amazing that you guys have been able to bring that story to a not just a national, but a worldwide platform, reaching multiple countries, all in the name of just trying to get the word out. People, hey, be aware, this can happen to anyone. It's tragic, and yet it's amazing to hear how y'all have turned the tragedy into such a powerful message. That is awesome. And you guys, I know you're located right here in the Houston area, and that kind of are based here, and so you have a lot of things going on. I'm sure the foundation is not free to run like anything else is, which means you guys have probably got a lot of events and things going on that y'all get involved in and that y'all do. So I want to learn about all those, but I think before I even learn about those, I know you guys are about getting out in the community and talking to people. I've read about events where you send people to schools to talk to people. How to tell us a little bit about those types of outreach that you guys are doing and how people get involved in that.
Yeah, so we actually have three main programs. Our main program is seatbelt safety awareness, and we do that in a variety of ways because we know seatbelts don't just apply to youth, they apply to literally every human on earth, no matter how old you are.
Very true.
So this message affects every single person, which is much different, I feel like, than most organizations who have something that affects a group of people. Our mission really affects everyone. So we do a ton with youth. We have school programs where we're going out into the schools, and those programs are really multi-day programs. They involve road signs at the schools, actual presentations, seatbelt checks at parking lot exits. And we're actually encouraging peer-to-peer campaigns to happen after we're gone. And so those are really great. And then we also have a digital program that we're able to launch everywhere so that we don't have to physically be there. And we did that because we wanted to continue to spread nationwide and potentially internationally with this program. So it's kind of self-run. It's run by an administrator in the school, but it's interactive and very impactful. And
Oh, wow.
then we also, we do community events, obviously, where we're going out and we're talking to people in local communities. And then we're doing a lot of awareness campaigns digitally. And that's, we do it through billboards, advertisements that we're promoting on social media. But we're doing these really impactful videos and messages that we're able to just share anywhere and everywhere. And then outside of seatbelt awareness, we actually have a family assistance program. So the seatbelt awareness is the preventative side, and the
Right.
family assistance is when tragedy does strike. How are these people getting support? Our family was so fortunate to receive an immense amount of support from the community. And so we said, not everybody has that. So how do we support people? Because we know that it takes an emotional toll, a financial toll when you suddenly lose someone, especially a child, because it's always unexpected. So we provide financial assistance, counseling assistance, basic needs, just in that immediate wake of tragedy. How do we support them while they can take the time to grieve instead of be worrying about those other things? And so that program has really grown into something tremendous. We do about 100,000 a year in support out of that program. And then we do college scholarships. But what's unique about our scholarships is the students are learning about seatbelt safety awareness on a whole nother level. They are having to run their own seatbelt awareness campaign. They have to use their
Oh,
own
wow.
creativity for that. They also have to interview a family who's lost a loved one not wearing a seatbelt. They have to write a report about all of these things. And that's really kind of the turning point for them, is it starts out about the money, and then it turns into something totally different when they interview somebody who's actually been impacted by this mission. And it's just a really great program. We've done over $200,000 in scholarships. We do a lot to
Yeah,
answer
no
your
kidding.
question.
Yeah, y'all
And
sound a little busy.
yes, very busy, but the impact is tremendous. And that's really what means a lot to us, is when we get to hear the results, the after, the stories of, I didn't wear my seatbelt before. I heard about your story. I always think of Kailee. I buckled up and I was actually in a crash and my life was saved. We've actually had scholarship applicants who have come to us and said they actually saved a life during their awareness campaign by getting other students to buckle up, and they were in a
It's
crash.
awesome.
Their life was saved. So it's a ripple effect for sure. But most of our in-person stuff is in the Houston area. So people that want to get involved, we need volunteers for everything. Our school programs, our community events, our fundraising events. We really need volunteers every single week. So people can sign up to be a volunteer on our website, the KaileeMillsFoundation.org. There's a volunteer page there. We also have a Facebook volunteer page, and people can reach out to us on social media or our website as well.
Wow. Okay. There's a lot to unpack in there. I was really excited to hear you talk about the programs that you have to support the family members and friends and people who are affected by the ripple effect of the loss of somebody who wasn't wearing a seatbelt. Because I know, with like drunk driving, you have Mothers Against Drunk Driving, you have other organizations that support other types of accidents, but the loss of a loved one doesn't become easier because they weren't wearing a seatbelt versus a drunk driver hit them or something like that. It's still a traumatic event. And I heard you say the comment that the three girls that were in the car with her walked away with only a physical scratch, but my initial thought when I heard that was, but the emotional scars they walked away with from losing a friend were probably very, very powerful. And you touched on that, how y'all as a family experienced that and were very blessed to have that kind of support. So I think that's awesome that you guys are creating that kind of support. It sounds to me like you guys are probably networking, or at least trying to reach out and network with professionals who can provide this kind of support. And that's, I'm guessing, another volunteer opportunity that you guys have for people who have those kind of skills to do that and be a part of that. And you talked about a little bit about the schools and the opportunity for people just to go talk at schools. One thing I've run into anytime someone reaches out for someone to come talk at a school is there's always a hesitancy people have about, well, I've got to talk to these people and I got to come up with something to say about this subject or whatever. Do you guys provide them with kind of a script or a guideline of what to talk about and what to say? If somebody were to say, hey, I can do that, I can go to my school and talk to my kids and their friends about this. Is that something you guys would provide for them?
We've never taken that aspect. Our seatbelt safety presentations are pretty consistent. So we have a whole presentation that's created, that's lined out with talking points, with videos and things that we've kind of ironed out over the years of how do we really reach kids? How do we get them to pay attention? How do we impact them? And so we have our own speakers. David Mills, Kaylee's
Gotcha.
father, is primarily a speaker. And then we also have a board member. His name is Dustin Krager, who is an incredible speaker. He's actually also a first responder.
Oh,
And
wow.
surprisingly, he was actually a friend of our families for a very long time. He's a firefighter for Spring and Klein, and he was actually first on the scene at Kaylee's crash, and so knew
Oh,
exactly
wow.
who Kaylee was. So very traumatic event for him, but now he sits on our board. He speaks for our organization. And then we have some other first responders that also speak for us as well, that are very familiar with the mission. And then of course we have our program staff that
Awesome.
speak. But I actually, you're brainstorming a little bit with me here. And if a parent wants to speak to their school, not necessarily through the Kailee Mills Foundation program, but they say, hey, I want to speak to my school or my kid's school, what can I talk about? I mean, I think it would be really smart for us to have a presentation that we could share with them as a baseline for them to go and make that impact.
Yeah, or I mean, a lot of it's so common sense that even like a fact sheet with basic facts on what statistics
Mhm.
there are that can be shared and that kind of stuff would make
Right.
it very easy to do that. And that's something you guys could provide and help and reach out. So that's really cool. Well, tell us a little bit about some of the opportunities, because I know with y'all talking and speaking and your team getting involved in all these kind of things, and then there's the production of all the videos and the online marketing and the expense of that. There's a lot of expenses involved in any kind of a mission or organization that's out there. So how do you guys raise money, and how can people, more importantly, get involved in helping you raise money for these type of things?
Absolutely. We raise money, on our website if anybody wants to go and make a donation, become a monthly donor. Those things are always really helpful. We also have fundraising events that people can participate in. This month, for example, we have something for the ladies. We have a purse bingo charity event, which is really, really fun. We're going to have about 400 women at that. We have our golf tournament every year. That one's in May. We're having a rappelling event. If somebody wants to rappel off a building, we do that in September. And that was actually fun because to rappel, you can sponsor and you can pay for yourself if you'd like, or you can raise funds. So you can set up your own fundraising page and raise funds for the Kailee Mills Foundation. And when you do that, you get to rappel. And then we have our gala, which is in November. So for all of those events, registering to attend, to participate, sponsorships are always available. Or if you just want to donate and not attend, you can do that as well. People can specifically donate to particular programs if they want. They want to sponsor road signs, school programs, college scholarships, or they want to fund specifically our family assistance program, they can do that. We have all of those needs available to fund on our website too, so they can choose the different categories if they'd like. So yeah.
Well, awesome. I was excited to learn about the rappelling event that you guys have, and specifically that we could sponsor it without having to jump off a building. So
Yes.
but anyway, so that's going to be fun. I'm really interested to see how that goes. I want to watch it. I don't want to be on the building
Yes.
myself. I want to be
You
on the
can
ground watching it happen. But
exactly. You can stand on the ground with me and we'll just
there you
watch
go.
everybody else be in terror. But I don't know, some people love that kind of stuff, but it's definitely a new event this year and we're excited to see how it goes.
Yeah, that's very unique. I've seen a lot of different fundraising events and a lot of different things, and golf tournaments, purse things, and runs, and all sorts of stuff are out there. But I've never seen a rappelling event as a fundraiser before, so I'm kind of excited to see how that goes.
Yeah.
That's very unique. Well, that's cool. And that's such a creative way to get the message out
Mhm.
and make yourselves more better known to the public. So let me ask you. You told us a little bit about some of these opportunities that you guys have. What are y'all's future visions and goals that you
Mhm.
guys have for the organization?
Absolutely. So I know I mentioned our digital school program. It's called iBuckle Interactive. It's a newer program that we launched in the fall of last year. So one of our visions for this year is really to launch that program all across the nation and really to expand our reach of school programs from local or Texas to millions of students across the United States. So we're really excited about expanding that program. And a goal of ours since day one and is still something that we're working towards is the seatbelt ribbon, the seatbelt awareness ribbon. When you see it, you know that it's a seatbelt. You immediately are reminded to, am I buckled? Is everyone in my vehicle wearing a seatbelt? So we really want the seatbelt ribbon to be the nationally recognized symbol for seatbelt safety around the nation and internationally, so that hundreds of millions of people are seeing that ribbon and are reminded about wearing a seatbelt. And that is ultimately what is going to save a lot of lives and create this nationwide awareness that's undeniable. And we want to see the statistics change. We want to see those numbers drop and less people dying from something so preventable. So that's really been our number one goal since the beginning is, yes, is it about keeping Kailee's name alive? Of course. But the true mission was, how do we use Kailee's story to save lives?
It's not
So
just
that's
about keeping her name alive; it's about keeping everyone else alive.
everyone. Exactly.
That's powerful.
To
Um,
prevent families from experiencing the tragedy that we've had to experience.
that is so cool. And tell us what the website address is so that we have that on here for people who are interested.
Yes, it is KaileeMillsFoundation.org, and that's spelled KaileeMills Foundation.org.
Awesome. And they can find out about all these different opportunities they have to get involved there. So you've told us about those opportunities. Is there anything else that we haven't discussed about what's going on with the foundation, or what your plans are, or anything, how people can help that you'd like to share before we wrap up?
Yeah, I think one thing I just like to share is one of the things we run into is people just say, oh, they're really shocked that there's a seatbelt organization. Oh, I thought everybody wore their seatbelt. I didn't realize this was a problem. I didn't realize there needed to be an organization for that. And it's just not true. I would like to, they say 90% of people wear their seatbelts. And what I always say is 90% of people wear their seatbelts most of the time, but
Right.
not all the time. And it's in a moment of vulnerability that you let your guard down and I'm just going around the corner, I'm not going very fast, or it's just for a minute, I need to grab something in the back seat, or all of those things were a factor in Kailee's crash. They were on a 30-mile-an-hour road. They were going less than a mile away. She just took it off just for a second. She was in the back seat. A lot of people think you're safer in the back seat. All of those myths were busted in her crash. And it's it's, you're not going to go on a roller coaster without making sure that you're wearing a seatbelt and the bar is down. And why is that? Because you know that something could happen and you don't want to feel vulnerable. Well, you're in a vehicle a lot more than you're in a roller coaster. So your risk of something happening is significantly higher. So just taking that step to prevent tragedy is really important. And it's not about a ticket. The true consequence is losing your life and your family who's left behind that has to deal with that loss.
That's so true. It's as a child, I still remember my first experience with loss was when an elementary school classmate of mine lost her life in a rear end accident because nobody in the back seat were wearing seatbelts. Her and two of her family members thought they were safe in the back seat of the car and didn't need a seatbelt, and all three of them went out the back window when the car was rear-ended, losing their lives. And I still today remember that, even though I was in probably fourth grade, maybe when that happened. That was
So
my first experience with
preventable.
trauma. So yeah, it's really sad. But in Kailee Mills' situation, it wasn't that she wasn't wearing her seatbelt; it's that she took it off for a split second,
Yep.
probably with the intention of putting it right back on a few seconds later, and bam, something happened. And
Exactly.
that's the message people need to hear: is that lapse in time of a few seconds can make a huge difference. Well, thank you so much for being on and sharing with us and telling us about the foundation. I'm really looking forward to the jump. I really am wanting to see how that thing goes, or the the rappel, as you guys call it. To me, you got to
Yes.
jump off to start rappelling, and that concept just blows my mind. But I'm definitely interested to watch other people do that and see how that works out. But thank you so much for being on, and I appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much for having me.